ladies and gentlemen, there was a time in the Canadian Olympic movement that a gold medal at the Olympics, especially at athletics, was a rare and treasured feat. Now, the first major champion that Canada had was a sensation worldwide, but especially in Greece, because he won this at the intercalated, or what do you call it, 1906 Summer Olympics. Now, the Summer Olympics at that time had returned in 1906 in Athens, but according to the IOC, it wasn't real championships, but nonetheless, some of the best athletes of the previous Summer Games showed up at that championships. And one of them that was a rookie was a 105-pound sensation from Canada, Billy Sherring. Now, Billy was a great marathoner. How he got there is a story in itself. What he did at the race is a story in itself. And to see the response he had by winning the marathon is just beyond the beyond. Now, Billy was 29 at the event. He was a standout, beating 52 runners to the tape in about 2 minutes and 51. Now, his teammate Donald Linden won silver in the 1,500-meter walk, but it was Sherring's tactics in getting there and winning just amazing. Now, the race for a lot of his fans was the easiest part of his venture. Now, history does not record any trials for selection, so one must speculate as to how the team was chosen. Now, I'm narrating from the ios.org site about Sherring's performance there. Now, when Sherring decided to go to Athens, the veteran set out to raise the money to pay his passage, there being no organization to support him financially or in any way whatsoever. This was the difficult part. Now, he had worked as a brakeman on the Grand Trunk Railway in Hamilton. Now, he lived a simple life with very few luxuries. This Spartan existence stood him in good stead for what he was about to undertake, but made the price of the boat fare difficult to come by. Now, in Greece, of course, he would be completely on his own in a foreign language, without logistic support, language support, companions, without no coach and no finances. But first he had to get to Greece. Money for boat trips was an extremely short supply in that mini recession that was going on in the early 1900s. Now, his supporters arranged a concert in Hamilton that the St. Patrick Athletic Club was involved, like his home association. The concert was to support his venture, but the share of the receipts was only $75. It was not enough. Legend has it that Sherring then went to a bartender friend, a racetrack tout, who advised on betting on a horse. Cecily was a sure thing. Now, not averse to a wager and with nothing to lose, Sherring took the advice, but the money and the horse won, allegedly, supposedly. He had enough for pay to his passage to Greece. Now, according to historians, there's some doubt this actually happened, as a later report from a relative indicate that Sherring was a notoriously poor gambler and never won anything in his life. As for the boat passage, Sherring also apparently worked his passage on a cattle boat. For one story reports, he was a stoker in the engine room, which is pretty difficult, 5 foot tall and about 105, 110 pounds. Now, while holding that job, he ran on deck every night to retain some semblance of fitness, since the ocean trip, especially on such a craft, took several weeks. Now, he wisely arrived in Greece some 7 weeks ahead of race time, which allowed him to acclimate to the heat. There was no record of how he managed with the language, accommodation, finances, and food, but some reports state that he worked as a porter in Greece to stretch his funds to the limit. He trained faithfully, for he knew what it took to be successful in the marathon. Now, this marathon, by distance, was only 41.88 kilometers. It was a little bit shorter than your traditional, I think, 26 miles, about, 300 feet. Now, he had been competing in runs for about 11 years and had placed as high as second in, of all things, the Boston Marathon, and twice won the Around the Bay race in Hamilton, his hometown. As well, he had finished first in several other less prominent marathon competitions, and he held the Canadian record for the 10-mile run. Training did almost daily in the heat of the Greek countryside, and as a consequence dropped 9 kilograms from his already wispy body. He was to lose an additional 5 kg during the course of the race. At the finish, he reportedly weighed in at about 104 pounds. Now, in the final, he ran a tactical race using experience to set his own pace, and after a halfway point was reported to be about a kilometer behind the leaders in the 52-man race, half of whom, of course, were Greeks. Now, he closed the gap slowly, his sweat-stained singlet with the green shamrock on him, breasting his way to the front. Now, shamrock symbolized his home club, St. Patrick in Hamilton, but because no Maple Leaf emblem in those days of international competition represented Canada, a lot of people basically thought he was running for Ireland. Now, after he established a comfortable lead, he walked for a while and took some refreshment. As the race approached the stadium, a cannon roared to mark the imminent arrival of the first runner. Anticipation simmered in the crowd of 70,000, and Sherring, for his part, could hear hoof beats as the official timer closed up behind him to ensure there were no irregularities. The Pro Creek audience was looking for one of their countrymen to win this famous race, like Spiridon Lewis in 1896, and surely would be a Greek, but it was not to be. Sherring, the diminutive Irishman from Canada, again wearing a stained fedora and a green shamrock on his chest, burst into the stadium. The crowd was subdued, but then a wonderful thing happened, one of the most greatest moments in Olympic history. Prince George of Greece, resplendent in his full uniform, was so excited by Sherring's appearance, he joined him and brought the crowd to his feet by pacing him around the track in the final lap. It was a wonderful display of sportsmanship. For Sherring, it was a great and well-deserved victory. Now, his clocking has been argued many times. It's sometimes given as 2:15:23, but I don't think he was at a modern world level. But the accepted version is 2:51:23, which was pretty well the pacing at the time, around 3 hours. But again, the course was only 41:88. Now, the legend of the gold medal presentation is quite heavy too. He was accompanied by a gift of that medal, and including a live lamb, a statue of the goddess Athene, honorary citizenship from the city of Athens, a proposal of marriage from whom is recorded, either male or female, and a bouquet of flowers and a lavish banquet. Now, his return to Canada, he was feted in Montreal, Toronto, and finally in Hamilton. The King sent his congratulations, and did the Governor General of Canada. Now, the city of Toronto gave him a cash prize of $400, while Hamilton, not to be outdone, purportedly settled on him a prize of $5,000 and a house. Additionally, he ran a demonstration 1,500 meters at a baseball game, and the crowd rewarded him with a pass of the hat of $1,200 for his effort. To put these prizes in perspective, one should note that Sherring made an estimated $700 a year as a brakeman on the Grand Trunk. Thus, the $5,000 alone would represent about 10 years' earnings, the equivalent today about $100,000. This granting of largesse was reported in the New York Times shortly after, with the declaration that it would destroy Sherring's amateur status. And indeed, Sherring retired within days, stating he had won all he thought he could win. He ultimately became coach of the Canadian team in the 1908 Olympic Games. Now, perspective is everything. The Greeks at the time were obsessed with the Olympics, especially the marathon. And why Sherring became a sensation in Greece, because he's gentlemanly manner, and the fact he was an overachiever for a person of his size was just tremendous. Now, why is Sherring being basically, not say forgotten by many people, but we don't talk about enough? Well, again, the 1906 Summer Olympics has lost some what they call prestige in the international level. Now, I really think there should be more recognition for him, basically, because every marathoner I see, including the Restigouche Road Runners, my crew up in North Shore, Joe McGuire, the heralded master runner from Woodstock, New Brunswick, they have a little bit of Sherring in them, because Sherring was a type of person, he was of himself and the crowd at the same time. Now, About the amateur status, now, I guess this is what we heard. Baron Pierre de Coubertin, the creator of the modern Olympic Games, wrote a letter to the Governor General of Canada, Albert Gray, protesting the gifts as inconsistent with the Olympic ideal for sport as sport's sake. So far as is known, again, Sherring just said, "I'm keeping the money, freak this." Now, the province of Ontario also named 2 new townships in New Ontario, now part of Cochrane District, in honor of Sherring. It was called Sherring TWP and Marathon TWP, not to confuse with Marathon Ontario. Now, he worked as a customs officer upon retirement and continued at that job until 1942. Now, Sherring was eventually inducted in the Canada Sports Hall of Fame in 1955. Now, after his passing, his original claim to fame, the Around the Bay Road Race, was renamed the Billy Sherring Memorial Road Race, and Hamilton has since built a Billy Sherring Park to commemorate their most famous athlete. Now, Sherring is thought to have inspired the founders of the Panathinaikos to adopt the shamrock as the Greek multi-sport club's official emblem in 1984. Now, he did pass away on September 5th, 1964, at the age of 86. Now, some people said he was 5'5". I don't know, the different reports. Some people said he was 5'3". Some people said he was 5 foot tall. But you can tell for the pictures here, he was a wisp of an athlete. Now, internationally at the time, I don't think that was a record for the marathon, but I think it was one of the more North American standards, like that 250, 51 to 54. Now, most marathoners now at the heavy elite level run a 205 to a 210, and the ultra ones 202, 203. But you got to understand, ladies and gentlemen, when he crossed the finish line with the royalty accompaniment, you'll never see that again. Where a member of a royal family is basically saying, "You are a peasant, but I am equal to you in this moment." So, I mean, it's pretty freaky. You'll never see that again. Especially, Canada and Greece have good connections, but can you imagine if we didn't see it at the Athens events in the 2000? Like any member, of the imagine if, Justin Trudeau or Joe Biden would run with American or Canadian athlete towards the finish line. Never going to happen because, he was saying this person may not be Greek, but today he is Greek. That's what I got from it. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing with our Olympic podcast, give us a like, comment, or subscribe. And if you see a 5'5", 120-pound man running in the early morning of your hometown, where do you think you got the idea? Think about that. Have a good day. Bye.